everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Gamescase. Today and only today, it is time for us to talk about The Legend of Zelda. That's right, next year is the 35th anniversary of the franchise, which means there's probably going to be a lot of big plans, and hopefully the world is in a less shittier place, so it's going to be easier to celebrate it. So I thought, let's sit down, let's speculate what could be shown, what's going to happen next year, what's going down, what are the games, what's going to happen in the 35th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda. So let's start with the big one, right? The big bad that we all want to know about. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. I feel like I haven't even gotten a chance to ever sit down and talk about what this game could potentially be, what I want from it, and all that stuff. And I feel like with Breath of the Wild 2, this game's probably got a mountain of expectations, right? I mean, Breath of the Wild is one of the most beloved, most amazing games of this past generation of all time already. Like, people really revere Breath of the Wild as one of the best things ever in gaming, and I think the team knows that they have a massive thing to do here to make the sequel better, right? Obviously, no matter what, they can capture that exact magic, but what can always happen with a sequel, especially when it comes to video games, which I think is easier than movies and other mediums, is if the gameplay is better, right? If there's even better story, if they go creative with the ideas that were already there, you can go insane and make something even better. I mean, this has been a debate for years with like Ocarina Majora, right? Of how people love Majora's Mask more than Ocarina, or stuff like that, where the sequel of a game often gets more love because they're able to take the foundation of things that were there and make them better, right? And personally, what I would want out of a Breath of the Wild 2, I wanted to really surprise it. Because we don't know yet. Again, like, we don't know. Are we gonna be in the same Hyrule, but like things are gonna look different? Is it gonna be like a totally new area? Is there gonna be new areas within the Hyrule? Like, we really don't know anything about this, what the sequel is going to be. We've only had that teaser, which and based on Age of Calamity's events, I don't think that game has anything to do with Age of Calamity's events. That game has nothing really to do here, so that doesn't give us a hint of anything. So we're kind of left in the dust to wonder what the fuck this sequel is gonna be about. But man, I want to know so badly, right? And I know a lot of people want Zelda playable. That seems to be a thing. I don't know if she will. I hope she would. It'd be really cool if you had sections where you're doing like puzzles and some exploration stuff with her, and then you're doing the typical open world stuff with Link. I would love that. I do think it's probably just gonna be Link, or we're just gonna have Zelda during story moments, but hey, we can hope for the best there. And again, like I said, if they do use the same Hyrule, I want it to be like fucked up. Like, I want it to be that things are even scarier there, even weirder there. Like, I want to be surprised. But I don't know what else you do, right? Because that world was so beautiful and rich to explore the first time. Maybe doing it again will feel different again, unless they do a thing where everything's completely different. I don't know, man. I feel like the scope of this game is going to be pretty massive. I mean, what, by next year will have been 4 years since Breath of the Wild. So even if it is a game that's using the base foundation of what Breath of the Wild did, it's clearly going to have a lot of work done and put into it, because it's not just the typical like, all right, here's the same thing with some extra stuff in there. They're going all the way, and I cannot wait to see what they cook up. Also, I mean, it could not come out next year. I mean, I think it is going to come out. If I were to bet, this game will be the game that launches the Switch Pro, just like Link's Awakening dropped with the Switch Lite, just like the Switch, like the launch Switch launched with Breath of the Wild, just like I think there was a 3DS that launched with Link's Awakening. It's like Nintendo has a history of launching hardware with a Zelda game, so I feel like this would be a perfect game to launch with the Switch Pro. And if not, so maybe it's either April that next year or in the fall. I think it's going to be one of those two. I'm very excited. Next, 2D Zelda, right? I figured I'd touch on that because, well, I think it was last year, 2019, we got Link's Awakening. So I sadly don't think we're going to be seeing a new 2D Zelda yet, again, unless the team at Grezzo, which are the developers that remade it, are gonna work really fast. I don't think we're gonna see that yet, but just in case of that they do, I really do hope we see something. I'd hope we get a remake of maybe the Chronicles game, like Legend of Zelda, what is it, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. That'd be really dope. And if not, something completely new. I really love that art style and world they created with Link's Awakening, so I think it would be a waste almost not to do it again. But at the same time, I know those teams like to push different ideas and art style, so they don't necessarily have to stick to it just because they made that base foundation. But again, I think it's too soon, but either way, it'd be nice to get Oracle of Ages and Seasons in there, or a brand new 2D one, but I don't think it's going to be next year either way. Now let's talk about how they're going to handle a collection, because I think the easiest thing that we all assume is going to be next year for the 30th anniversary is a collection, but it's really hard to tell how they're going to handle it because of how they've handled other collections and how Zelda is, right? Because you think of the Legend of Zelda, right? Like, okay, what would they do for a collection? A lot of people would say, what do you do? Ocarina, Majora, Wind Waker? Do you do Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword? But at the same time, people think Skyward Sword is going to be its own release because it hasn't had a remaster yet, right? But at the same time, wouldn't they just want to, if they charge full price for the Wii U version of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, are they going to want to bundle them, or can they sell them alone? It's a really difficult debate, and I don't know the answer, right? In an ideal world, to me, Ocarina and Majora are launched on a N64 online, right? You know how we have SNES online and NES online. Like, to me, that's the ideal scenario. Those two games go there. We don't have to repay for them in a collection. And then, and the best case scenario to me is that Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword are in a collection. That's my ideal scenario. And like, the big deal of that collection would be that, hey, Skyward Sword, we've updated the visuals, we've updated the controls. You can either use like your Pro Controller with the motion. It's kind of like Galaxy did, where I guess you press R to like recalibrate it every time. It would be a little weird because, again, that's definitely the biggest challenge with Skyward Sword, right? It's like that game relies so incredibly heavily on motion control that you literally almost have to change the entire baseline of the game to make it adapt to consoles, unless you really do use the Pro Controller again to lift up, to swing the sword sideways or left or right. It's definitely a challenge, and I don't know if they're putting so much work into it that it would warrant its own separate release. But again, ideal world would be Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, and Skyward Sword in one big collection. I think sadly games like, you know, like Phantom Hourglass and like the DS era and even the 3DS era Zelda games are gonna be stuck to those consoles for now. Again, maybe one day they'll make a comeback, but I don't think we're gonna see, I don't think this anniversary is gonna have too much 2D love. Maybe they, again, like they said, they'll get some eShop releases and stuff, but I do think for the most part it's going to be, hey, it's a collection of the most beloved 3D ones, you know what I mean? And again, the Legend of Zelda franchise right now is bigger than it's ever been. Breath of the Wild has sold more than any Zelda game ever. I think Link's Awakening sold like 3-4 million copies, so that the franchise continues to grow and has continued to thrive. And again, like I said, it's definitely hard to tell what's going to be in the collection. I do hope they do some more work into it. Obviously, they saw a lot of backlash with Mario 3D All-Stars, where there wasn't really any, like, you know, artwork or, you know, like extra stuff in there, extra modes or whatever. I do hope they go a little bit of that extra mile with The Legend of Zelda, but I'm not necessarily counting on it. Now, also another thing is The Legend of Zelda, we could see a new spin-off. That would be, to me, that's honestly not like the most perfect scenario, but I want a cool new spin-off. And I'm not talking like your typical spin-off like Triforce Heroes, where it's like, hey, here's dungeons and you do them with friends. I want it to be something like, give us that paper Legend of Zelda, right? Give us that we've been wondering for forever, right? Give us like some kind of Zelda RPG, kind of like, you know, we got Cadence of Hyrule, I think it was last year, right? Yeah, like that Rhythm Zelda game. Like, give us something weird like that, right? Where it's a Zelda game that you don't expect, you know, maybe it is like a Legend of Zelda cart or something, you know, even not necessarily that kind of game, but the idea, right? I want like a fun, different Legend of Zelda spin-off, because we don't really have that on Switch aside from Cadence of Hyrule, and I feel like the franchise definitely lends itself to that. I feel like, again, to me, a turn-based Legend of Zelda would be really dope and different. Like, imagine a Zelda game where you are leveling up, you know, you are getting XP and stuff like that. Obviously, you get that in Age of Calamity, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm talking about like a regular kind of a singular Zelda game. I think that could be really cool. That'd be a dope idea. Again, I don't know if they do it, and we don't know what kind of ideas they have. And again, maybe a Triforce Heroes on Switch would be really cool. Another push for Nintendo Switch Online, where, hey, go with your friends at the Legend of Zelda dungeon, solve some stuff together. Actually, the more I talk about it, the more I definitely would like to see that. Actually do that. Maybe not Triforce Heroes, make it up to 4 players where 4 of your friends can do that, and it would be a fun stream game and all that jazz. So please do that for me, Mr. Nintendo. But yeah, that's kind of it for my speculation on next year. I think those are going to be the main 3 pillars, though. I think we'll get a spin-off of some sort. I think we will get a collection and Breath of the Wild 2, and that'll be kind of your Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary. I'm sure you'll get a medley concert, maybe. I don't know if you'll get a concert next year still with the State of the World and stuff, but I do hope they go big. I think they'll probably announce stuff earlier than they did for Mario. With Mario, it was in September they announced their anniversary plans, but that's because E3 and a lot of the early year stuff was adapting to COVID and all this stuff. So I think knowing that they have to go full force with a lot of Zelda stuff, I wouldn't expect it to be any later than maybe March to get info on that stuff. And obviously I could be wrong, but that's my guess. Guys, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you're excited for next year's Zelda anniversary. What do you want to see in a collection? What did I forget? What do you want to see? Let me know. Give me all the deets. I love you. Make sure to subscribe for more. All that jazz. Peace out. I love you.